I think JJ was realistic, right, about what happened after the game. And now, that bad snap notwithstanding, when you're talking about Deshaun and this high that he's been riding, does this game still validate everything which we've seen thus far from Deshaun Watson?
This is one of those games where you can really understand why Deshaun Watson is so frustrated, because it's another example of, even though you have elite quarterback play, another example of why wins is not a QB stat. I repeat, wins is not a QB stat, because if it was, then either the Texans would be winning a lot of games or Deshaun Watson isn't really good.
No offense intended to anybody I ever played with in the game of football, but in 20 plus years of organized football, I never was lucky enough to play with a guy like Deshaun.
I think that's how you judge what a great quarterback is, how he makes the other pieces around him better. We've seen it with Tom Brady over the years. They just plug and play, and hey, they get better. Today, like you mentioned, at one point, he was running around with guys that had barely seen any action. I mean, you've got a guy like Chad Hansen we never heard of. He has 100 yards.
Keke Coutee had 8 catches, 141 yards, as we've mentioned. Is this one of those games, again, where we sit back and scratch our heads and say, why wasn't this guy seeing the field more often?
I have been asking this question since the very beginning. Keke Coutee should have been in the mix from the very beginning. He's a guy who, even when he struggled, even when he turned the ball over, even when he was running the wrong routes, all of that should have been something where you could coach him up and bring him back into the game. It never made any sense to me why he was not playing more.
I think coach him up right there is the essential term, Brandon, that at times with young players, it felt like Bill O'Brien was so convinced that you couldn't trust young players that he never gave them the opportunity for him to trust them. I would say it every time Keke Coutee ran a jet sweep action, defenses had to account for that, because he has an urgency and a suddenness to his movement that, frankly, nobody else on that Texans offense does.